Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling a super fundamental question in Spanish, ¿Cómo es? Which basically means, what is it like? We're diving into chapter 4 to uncover the really cool, almost mathematical way Spanish uses adjectives to describe people, places, and the world around us. Here's our roadmap for today. First up, the adjective agreement mystery. Second, matching gender and number. Third, where do adjectives go? Fourth, exceptions, no gender change. And finally, describing people in conversation. Okay, let's dive right into this with part 1, the adjective agreement mystery. All right, I want you to put your detective hat on for a second. We've got a bit of a linguistic puzzle here. Why does the Spanish word for tall, alto, completely change its ending depending on who it's describing, but the word for big, grande, stays exactly the same? Any guesses? Let's look at this in action. Take the phrase for the tall boy. In Spanish, that's el chico alto. Go ahead and say that with me, el chico alto. But if we're talking about the tall girl, it suddenly becomes la chica alta. Do you see how the word for tall shifted from an O at the end to an A? Okay, now let's look at the big book. That's el libro grande. And the big backpack is la mochila grande. Wait a minute. The word grande stayed exactly the same for both. So what's going on here? Why did tall change, but big didn't? Well, that brings us to section 2, matching gender and number. The secret behind our little mystery is a massively important concept called concordancia, which literally translates to agreement. You see, in Spanish, adjectives are definitely not lone wolves. They are deeply, tightly tied to the nouns they describe. They actually have to match that noun in both gender, meaning masculine or feminine, and number, meaning singular or plural. So if your noun is feminine and plural, your adjective? Yep, it has to be feminine and plural too. It's an absolute package deal. They have to agree. Because of this agreement rule, most descriptive adjectives actually have 4 different forms. Let's track our word for tall again. For a singular masculine noun, it's alto. Make it plural masculine, and you just pop an S on the end, altos. Now, for a singular feminine noun, it switches to alta. And plural feminine? You guessed it, altas. That is literally 4 different ways to say tall, depending entirely on exactly who or what is actually tall. All right, moving right along to section 3, where do adjectives go? Now, in English, we're used to putting the descriptive word first, right? We say, the new book. But Spanish flips the script. Descriptive adjectives almost always come after the noun. So, the new book becomes el libro nuevo, which literally translates to the book new. I know it feels a little backward at first, but honestly, it makes complete logical sense. You introduce the main subject first, and then you describe it. So, if you want to build a flawless Spanish phrase every single time, just follow this foolproof 3-step formula. Step 1, find your noun and check its article to figure out if it's masculine, like el or un, or feminine, like la or una. Step 2, grab your adjective and change the ending so it perfectly matches that noun's gender and number. And step 3, drop that newly matched adjective directly after the noun. Boom! It's literally like linguistic math, and it works perfectly. Let's actually plug this formula into some full sentences using the verb ser, which means to be. For masculine singular, the boy is tall becomes el chico es alto. Try saying that. El chico es alto. Now for plural, the boys are tall turns into los chicos son altos. Feminine singular, la chica es alta. And feminine plural, las chicas son altas. Notice that total harmony there? Everything shifts to match the subject perfectly. Okay, but what about our mystery word from earlier? That brings us to section 4, exceptions, no gender change. So remember how grande didn't change earlier? Well, here is the plot twist. Not all adjectives play by the exact same gender rules. If an adjective naturally ends in an E, words like inteligente or grande, or if it ends in a consonant, like the colors azul, gris, or verde, it's an exception. It looks the exact same whether it's describing a masculine boy or a feminine girl. For these rule breakers, the only thing that ever changes is the plural ending. So el chico inteligente is the smart boy, and plural is las chicas inteligentes. We just added an S. Easy enough, right? For consonant ending, el libro azul is the blue book, and the plural is las mochilas azules.
Since azul ends in a consonant, we have to add an es to make a plural, but the base word doesn't change for gender.
All right, let's put this all together. Section 5, describing people and conversation. We're going to eavesdrop on a quick chat between two students, Sofia and Diego, to see these rules flying around in the wild. Sofia kicks things off by asking, ¿Cómo es tu maestro de matemáticas? Repeat that after me. ¿Cómo es tu maestro de matemáticas? Which means, what is your math teacher like?
Es alto y simpático, y es muy inteligente. He is tall and friendly, and he is very intelligent. Now, notice what's happening here. Because the teacher is a maestro, a male teacher, Diego uses the O endings for alto and simpático. But inteligente ends in an E, so it just stays inteligente.
Sofia follows up with, ¿Es joven or viejo? Is he young or old? And Diego says, no es muy viejo, es joven. ¿Y tu maestra de ciencias? Meaning, he's not very old, he's young. And your science teacher? Again, look at the adjectives. Viejo takes an O for masculine, but joven ends the consonant, so there's absolutely no gender change there. And this brilliantly illustrates the shift when Sofia answers. Listen closely to her adjectives. Es muy alta y delgada. Es un poco seria, pero es muy buena maestra. She is very tall and thin. She is a bit serious, but she is a very good teacher. Because her science teacher is a maestra, a female teacher, every single adjective flips to an A. Alta, delgada, seria, buena. It is total concordancia in action. Finally, Diego wraps it up. Mi clase favorita es la de arte. La maestra es divertida y muy creativa. My favorite class is art. The teacher is fun and very creative. Here, the word for class, clase, is feminine, so it's su clase favorita. And the art teacher is female, so she is divertida and creativa. All right, before we finish, let's lock in the key vocabulary from that little chat. We used ¿cómo es? To ask what someone is like. We saw awesome adjectives like joven for young and serio for serious. We used qualifiers like un poco for a little bit and muy for very. And we wrapped the whole thing up with bueno for good and favorito for favorite. You guys have done an absolutely incredible job navigating the mathematical beauty of Spanish adjective agreement today. We figured out how to match gender, how to match number, and exactly where to place these descriptive words in a sentence. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Knowing the rules of concordancia that we literally just covered, ¿cómo eres tú? What is one Spanish adjective you would use to perfectly describe yourself right now? Have a think on that, keep practicing, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.